So regarding the housing policies in San Francisco, I, as a social worker, besides I work for the government full-time, I dedicate myself in the community. I volunteer in the community. I volunteer for a lot of different programs. One of the programs that I volunteer is people make complaints on how unfair the housing policy that caused landlords, they refused. They don't want to rent out of their housing properties anymore. Here's why. People buy a house not from scratch. People bought houses with years of planning. They save, they work hard, 1 job, 2 jobs, and they gather in family generations and generations, packed the house together, and then they bought a house. Now, when the house payment is so high, people couldn't afford it, so they co-rent it, like either lower part or upper part or a room, just to help them to pay the bank payment. Okay? Unfortunately, many of the tenants that is supported by unfair housing policy, that they get free legal services, and we have unethical attorneys that they have no jobs. So what do? They look for people who run it in there. Any little complaints, they spark it so big. They teach the tenants how to trip landlords. So we have many landlords been sued in San Francisco just for tiny little bit reasons. So when people spread the word out in the community, people said, excuse me, hell no. They don't want to do it anymore. So think about it. If you work so hard and had a house and you have a good heart to run it to people, all of a sudden you've been sued and you have to go to court, you don't get paid for court, but the other people, they get everything free. So when they win, they get 50% of the settlement, and the lawyer get 50%, but you as a tenant, as a landlord, you get nothing to win. I provide services to a lot of people who are depressed, who are anxious, who lost their desire as landlord. They basically give up. So when there's no supply, due to refusal of renting it out, so the demand is in there, what happened? You see the housing crisis up. You see the prices up. But at the same time, we have a lot of empty units sitting in there, and then they're not willing to rent because of unfair policy. So in order for that to solve, I as a mayor will be having a mediation agency to take care of the lawsuits, to take care of the divorce nightmare from the landlord. Say they are willing to help us so they can release the empty units to the people who need housing, especially the teachers, the workers, who are the local people with family and children. But here's the catch. We do not want to give the wrong message to the public that the government is free. There's no free lunch in San Francisco. It's always give and take. If people want a quality of life, I want the tenants to be fair, not just to sue people, because the more you sue the landlords, the fewer housing units will be available. So think about what you do before you sue people, because you might get some money, but that some money will kind of dissolve in about a year or so. Then you're going to be ending up with no housing. So as a mayor, it's important to understand why that we have a housing crisis. Housing crisis is pretty much that created by unfair housing policies. And as a mayor, I will be addressing that area to help people who came up with solutions and who are willing to help. I am a social worker. Besides working for the government full-time, I'm also very active. I'm an activist, a community activist in the community. I encounter many of the victim tenants and victim landlords at the same time. I belong to a couple of groups that are supporting landlords at the same time supporting tenants. I'm a social worker, I'm a middle person. I am not pro, I'm not against, but I can see why people are so angry. They would rather put their empty unit, refuse to rent because of unfair housing policy. People don't want to be sued. From my experience, we had approximately 800 parcels. 800 parcel means 800 buildings or houses in San Francisco. Approximately 51% of tenants the 49% of property owners. Within the 49% of property owners, Asian property owners are 35%, which tells me that people work hard and had a home, had a house. But because of those unethical attorneys, they keep suing and looking for people to sue. San Francisco lost a lot of housing because of unethical practice and illegal practices, and plus unfair housing policies. And I believe that we had approximately 40 to about 50,000 units that is sitting empty. How do I know that? Because we have property owner support groups. When people we move from the market, we kind of talk to each other and we kind of estimate about that area. But lately, we have proposition that say that if you leave your building empty or apartment empty, you will be taxed. To me, it's dictatorship. And to me, that is called government robbery. And that is government, you know what's it called? Government abuse. There's no difference between a mafia and a government representative. Because you're telling people, I want you to rent it out, and then you'll suffer from the lawsuit. If you don't rent it out, I'm going to tax you. What kind of country are we? We are in America. We are in democracy country. If I want to run my house, I don't want lawsuit. If you want to sue somebody else who had money. But most of the pops and moms, property owners, they are just regular person. Day in, day out, they work hard. They don't want to go through hardships, depression, anxiety that relate to all those lawsuits. You know, lawsuit is one thing. Money is another thing. But what they've been told that they're so horrible, they're horrible owners, they don't care about tenants, and they're so into money. That is all wrong. People work real hard to buy a house, and they have good heart to run it to people. I spoke to many people. They have a good heart to run it to them at very low price. Many of the tenants in San Francisco who are supplied by small property owners, they are paying peanuts compared to dollars. An average one room right now in San Francisco, minimum is about $1,800 to about $2,500. But a lot of Asian property owners, they run it out like $500, $700, like $1,500. Why? It's because we people had hearts. They know they have survived hardship. When people move from another country, they came in here for a better life. But better life does not mean to take advantage of people. So here's what I do as a mayor. I will help not only the tenants, but both tenants and landlords, especially the small property owners, eliminate the lawsuit threats from them so they can feel good about what they've been paid for their house. They work real hard, they want security in their life, and that's why I'm going to support them. I'm going to support both. Good tenants, they have support. Good landlords, they have support. So sometimes we see, you know, abusive tenants. Sometimes we have abusive landlords. But we're going to support the good behavior, not the bad behavior. So as a social worker, I help a lot of tenants and I help a lot of small property owners, and especially the Asian community, because I'm bilingual. So I help them translate some of those court documents. And I realize they have common themes. When the government provided them mediation services, they refused because there's no money involved. They only provide a solution. The lawyers do not make money from mediation. So they have to go to court to fight in order to get the insurance company the money. Because when people run a house, sometimes they have insurance policy. So they have to get the money from that. So that's one of the reasons the insurance industry, it's skyrocketing right now due to all those lawsuits. I've seen people, they invest in a house, they just lost everything due to lawsuit and due to accountability from the government support and due to corruptive government representatives. I've seen so many cases in my experience as an interpreter and as a volunteer social worker in the community. I have so many cases, they're still fighting. The latest fighting is the person whose house is like $900,000, but because she wanted to get her house back to live on and been sued for $800,000. You know what that means to the public? I don't want to run my place out because I can be sued at any time and any level. I can't take my house back when I run it out. That's what the message is. It's wrong. When people run it out because people wanted to be part of the society, it's give and take and supply and demand. But every time it run it out, it get into trouble and you've been sued, it tells the people that you don't want to do it anymore. That's what happened in San Francisco. That's why we have housing crisis. When I elect as mayor, I think many of the lawyers will lose their job because I do not support unethical law practices in San Francisco. If they have no job, they have to go back to school and do something else. But teaching tenants to abuse small property owners is not acceptable in San Francisco. I've seen it over and over. How do I know? I work with people in the front. I went to run board and get their monthly report, and you see how many people been sued and how many people repeatedly, the same lawyer, same law firm, suing different people using the same tactics. That is, well, it's legally right, but it's unethical to teach tenants how to trick small property owners and get what they want from the insurance company. That is teaching the wrong message and create housing crisis in San Francisco. That is not acceptable. I will, as a mayor, will help both, and we will do mediation. If they want to do lawsuit, the tenants should do their own. They should pay for their own legal fee. No legal help.